What if survival isn't about strength, but surrender? It sounds upside down, doesn't it? We've been taught that power protects, that influence secures, that strategy saves. Yet Daniel had none of these in the lion's den. No weapons, no allies, no escape plan, only prayer. And while others saw him as doomed, he walked out untouched. That paradox forces us to ask, what hidden force carried him through the night? The truth is uncomfortable. Faith is often mocked until it becomes the only thing left standing. Daniel lived in a culture where compromise was celebrated and conviction was punished. Doesn't that sound familiar? Today we face our own Babylons, pressures to bow, to silence our values, to trade truth for convenience. The story of Daniel isn't just history. It's a mirror reflecting the battles we fight daily in workplaces, schools, and even our own hearts. But here's the twist. Daniel didn't survive because he was extraordinary. He survived because his faith connected him to an extraordinary God. That same connection is available to us. It doesn't require titles, wealth, or fame. It requires courage in small choices, trust in impossible nights, and the kind of vision that sees beyond lions. And once you understand why Daniel survived, you'll see how that same power can shape your life today. Night descended over Babylon like a thick veil, and within its silence came the thunder of distant lions. Their roars rolled through the stone passages like waves crashing on unseen shores. Imagine the torches casting nervous shadows while soldiers drag a man toward the den. That man is Daniel, calm, unresisting, his lips whispering prayers instead of curses. To the crowd, it looked like the end. To heaven, it was the beginning of something unforgettable. Think about it. Daniel wasn't made of steel or born with supernatural powers. He carried the same fragile heartbeat as any of us. Yet, in that critical moment, he leaned not on fear, but on faith. Picture yourself there, dust filling your lungs, the heat of wild beasts pressing against your skin. Most would collapse in terror, but Daniel stood firm because his strength came from a source no empire could touch. That kind of confidence doesn't appear overnight. It is cultivated day by day. And here lies the mystery that has puzzled generations. Why did Daniel survive? Lions do not spare prey out of mercy, nor does a sealed den provide escape routes. The answer cannot be found in logic alone. It whispers of an unseen shield, a divine presence that bent the natural order for one man's trust. This story isn't about escaping claws. It's about uncovering the hidden power that still waits for those bold enough to believe. So, before we can understand the miracle, we need to understand the man and the world around him. Babylon was no ordinary kingdom. It was the empire of empires, shimmering with gold and pride, yet fueled by arrogance. Daniel's journey began not in the den of lions, but in the furnace of exile. Torn from his homeland and thrust into a culture determined to reshape him. To grasp why he survived, we must first see how he lived. And that takes us back to the beginning of his story. The story of Daniel does not begin with lions or visions, but with chains and tears. Jerusalem had fallen, its walls broken, and its temple burned. Families were torn apart. Young men marched away from the ruins of their home to serve a foreign king. Among them was Daniel, just a teenager, forced to walk hundreds of miles into Babylon. Imagine the weight of that journey, his future uncertain, his identity under attack, yet his faith quietly burning within. Babylon was a city that dazzled the eyes and seduced the heart. Its walls towered so high that invaders despaired at the thought of breaching them. Golden idols gleamed in the sunlight, and the hanging gardens whispered of luxury beyond imagination. For a young exile, it would have been easy to forget Jerusalem and embrace this new life. Yet Daniel carried something more valuable than Babylon's treasures, conviction, and conviction cannot be bought, not even with a crown. The king's strategy was subtle but powerful. take the brightest minds of Israel and reshape them into servants of the empire, change their language, feed them from the royal table, rename them with Babylonian gods. In short, erase their past and replace it with Babylon's glory. Many would have surrendered to such pressure because comfort has a way of weakening resistance. But Daniel saw through the glitter. He knew that compromise in small things leads to slavery in great ones. This is where Daniel's story becomes more than history. It becomes a mirror. Every generation faces its own Babylon, systems that demand loyalty, cultures that seduce, powers that whisper, "Forget who you are." Daniel's choice to remain faithful in exile planted the seed for every miracle that followed. His resilience in a foreign land wasn't just survival, it was preparation for something greater, and it was at the royal table, before the lions and before the visions, that his first true test came. The king's table was no ordinary feast. It was covered with delicacies, rich meats, fine wines, dishes prepared by the best chefs of Babylon. To most captives, this would have felt like a reward, a chance to forget their sorrow and taste the luxury of empire. But Daniel saw something others missed. Every bite was a compromise, a slow surrender of identity. It wasn't just food, it was a test of loyalty. Would he feast like a Babylonian or remain faithful as a son of Israel? Imagine the pressure he felt. Surrounded by peers who gladly accepted the offer, Daniel risked standing out as stubborn or ungrateful. A single refusal could brand him as rebellious, even dangerous, in a court where obedience was everything. Yet he quietly made a decision. He would not defile himself. That choice may sound small, but small choices shape great destinies. He requested only vegetables and water, trusting that his God could sustain him better than any royal banquet. At first glance, such a diet seemed foolish. How could plain vegetables compete with the richness of meat and wine? The officials doubted him, fearing the king's wrath if Daniel grew weak, but Daniel insisted, asking for a simple test of 10 days. It was a gamble, at least in human eyes, but he understood something deeper. Obedience is never a gamble when God is the one writing the outcome. And after 10 days, Daniel and his friends looked healthier than all the others. This victory at the table was more than physical strength. It was a spiritual foundation. By refusing compromise, Daniel proved that faithfulness works, even in the smallest details, and that faithfulness prepared him for trials far greater than diet. Because one day, the king's table would not be the issue. Fiery furnaces, royal decrees, and visions of beasts would take its place. But Daniel's secret was already clear. Those who conquer in the small battles are ready for the great ones. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, was troubled by a dream so vivid that it shook him to his core. He demanded answers, threatening the lives of his wise men if they failed to explain both the dream and its meaning. Panic spread through the palace because no one could deliver what the king asked. Yet Daniel, still young and seemingly powerless, turned to prayer instead of fear. He sought the wisdom of heaven, and in the night, the mystery was revealed to him. The dream was of a colossal statue, dazzling yet fragile. Its head was made of gold, chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, legs of iron, and feet mixed with iron and clay. It seemed indestructible, but a stone cut without hands struck its feet and shattered the entire image. The statue collapsed, blown away like dust, while the stone grew into a mountain filling the earth. To Nebuchadnezzar, it was terrifying. To Daniel, it was the blueprint of history. With calmness and humility, Daniel stood before the most powerful man on earth and explained what no one else could. The golden head was Babylon, glorious but temporary. Silver, bronze, and iron would follow, kingdoms rising and falling with time. The fragile feet showed the weakness of divided empires, but the stone, uncut by human hands, represented a kingdom eternal, one not built by men, but by God himself. Daniel's voice carried not just knowledge but authority, because truth carries weight even in royal courts. This dream was more than prophecy. It was proof that Daniel's God ruled above empires. For the king, it was a revelation that his power had limits. For Daniel, it was confirmation that history bends toward the divine. And for us, it's a reminder that human glory is always temporary, no matter how dazzling it looks. Yet this was only the beginning of visions and signs Daniel would receive. Because what started with a statue would soon lead to fire. Nebuchadnezzar's pride soon took shape in a statue unlike the dream. This one was not divided into gold, silver, and bronze. It was pure gold from head to toe, a monument to his ego. A decree was issued. When the music played, everyone must bow down and worship the image. In the sea of people, thousands fell to their knees, their faces pressed to the ground. But 3 young men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, remained standing, unshaken in their faith. The threat was swift and brutal. Refuse to bow, and you would be thrown into a furnace heated 7 times hotter than normal. Guards dragged the young men before the furious king, who offered them one last chance to obey. Their answer was simple yet defiant. Our God is able to deliver us, but even if he does not, we will not serve your gods. Their words cut sharper than any sword. Faith like that makes empires tremble. The furnace roared like a beast as the men were bound and cast into the flames. The fire was so intense it killed the soldiers who threw them in. But inside the blaze, something astonishing happened. The king, staring into the inferno, saw not 3 but 4 figures walking unharmed. The 4th looked like a son of the gods. The fire that was meant to destroy became the stage for a divine visitation. When the men walked out without even the smell of smoke, Babylon witnessed a truth greater than its idols. The furnace proved that faith doesn't protect us from trials, but it transforms trials into testimonies. Their courage prepared the stage for Daniel's own trial, which would come not with fire, but with lions. And the same unseen presence that walked in the flames would one day stand guard in the shadows of a den. As years passed, Daniel's wisdom and integrity made him rise above all the officials of Babylon. His success, however, stirred jealousy. Envious leaders schemed to trap him, but they found no corruption in his life, only his devotion to prayer. So they crafted a law forbidding anyone to pray to any god or man except the king. For 30 days, disobedience meant death. It was a decree designed not to honor the king but to destroy Daniel. When Daniel heard the law, he didn't hide or negotiate. He opened his window toward Jerusalem, knelt down, and prayed 3 times a day just as he always had. He knew the eyes of his enemies were watching, yet he chose faith over fear. That simple act of prayer was his rebellion against tyranny. It wasn't loud or violent, but it shook the empire more than any sword could. For true power often comes in silence. The trap was sprung, Daniel was accused, and the king, though distressed, could not revoke his own law. Reluctantly, he ordered Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den. Imagine the dread of that night. The iron gate slamming shut, the growls echoing in the dark, the king pacing his palace unable to sleep. Yet while the king trembled, Daniel rested. Surrounded by predators, he found peace in the presence of his God. At dawn, the king rushed to the den, his voice breaking as he called out, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God been able to rescue you?" From the darkness came the reply, "My God sent his angel, and he shut the lions' mouths." Daniel emerged without a scratch, proving that faith can silence even death itself. But this was not the end of his story. It was the threshold to visions that reached beyond Babylon, into the mysteries of the future. Daniel's greatest trials were not in the den, but in the visions that came after. One night, he saw the sea stirred by powerful winds, and out of the waters rose 4 beasts, each more terrifying than the last. a lion with wings, a bear raised on one side, a leopard with 4 heads, and a 4th beast beyond description, iron-toothed and dreadful. These images burned into his mind, symbols of kingdoms rising and falling. But hidden within them was a message for all generations. The vision shifted, and Daniel saw thrones set in place. The Ancient of Days took his seat, clothed in white, his throne blazing with fire, and thousands upon thousands attended him. Then came the judgment. The beasts lost their power, and their dominion was stripped away. Finally, one like the Son of Man approached, given authority and glory, and his kingdom would never end. In that moment, Daniel glimpsed eternity breaking into time. These visions left Daniel shaken, his spirit troubled. He knew they weren't just about Babylon or Persia, but about the unfolding of history until the end of days. Empires would rise, but none would last. Powers would boast, but all would fall before the eternal throne. The message was clear. No matter how fierce the beast, God's kingdom would prevail. And though Daniel didn't understand it all, he recorded every detail, leaving a map for those who would come after. Think of it this way. Daniel wasn't merely a prophet of his time, he became a bridge between ages. His visions echoed centuries later when Jesus spoke of the Son of Man and warned of tribulation. They still echo now in a world filled with its own beasts, systems, powers, and fears that seem unstoppable. Yet Daniel's visions whisper the same truth. History belongs not to empires, but to the eternal King. And that brings us to the final glimpse of his legacy. Daniel's story is not locked in the past. It is alive in the present. His courage in exile, his steadfast prayer, and his prophetic visions are all pieces of a larger truth. Faith outlasts empires. Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome, each once seemed unstoppable, yet they crumbled into dust. What remained was the testimony of a man who refused to bend. And in a world where modern Babylons still demand compromise, Daniel's example points to the strength found in quiet, unwavering faith. Notice how his greatest victories came not through rebellion or violence, but through consistency. He prayed daily, refused compromise at the king's table, and trusted God in the den. These are not grand gestures, but daily choices that built an unshakable character. The lesson is simple but profound. Greatness is not built in sudden moments of glory, but in habits forged over time. And those habits prepare us for moments when the world tests us. Daniel also shows that prophecy is not meant to frighten, but to anchor hope. His visions remind us that history is under divine control, even when chaos seems to reign. The beasts of his visions mirror the fears and powers of today: political turmoil, cultural pressure, and personal struggles. Yet just as Daniel saw the Son of Man receive an everlasting kingdom, we too can rest, knowing the end belongs not to fear, but to faith. So the question lingers: what will we do with Daniel's example? Will we bow to the pressures of our age, or will we stand, even if it means standing alone? His story dares us to trust, to live with conviction, and to prepare for the trials that shape destiny. And though his book closes with mystery, his life opens a door of challenge for us today. Because the real miracle is not just that Daniel survived the lions, but that his faith still speaks into our lives now. Daniel's story leaves us with a question that refuses to stay silent. What lions are circling you right now? They may not have teeth or claws, but they roar in different ways. Fear, doubt, pressure, compromise. The same God who shut the mouths of beasts is still able to silence the voices that threaten your peace. But the choice is yours. Will you trust him in the den, or bow to the demands of the crowd? Imagine what could change if you lived with Daniel's kind of faith. What habits would you start today? What compromises would you stop making? Faith is not built in grand speeches, but in quiet daily choices that prepare you for extraordinary moments. If Daniel could stand in Babylon and remain faithful, so can you, in your home, your work, your relationships. The question isn't whether challenges will come, but whether you'll be ready when they do. So let me leave you with this. Daniel survived not because lions grew weak, but because faith grew strong. That same strength is waiting for you. Are you willing to step into it? If this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, live it, and let it transform you. And before you leave, make sure to subscribe to Luminous Source and turn on notifications so you never miss the truths that can reshape your life.